In today's video, we're going to be working on our BMW E21's dashboard, making sure all the gauges are working, all the warning lights are illuminating and the gauges are reading correctly. For a 1982 carburetted BMW, you might ask yourself, is there any circuitry in the car at all, or is it all just basic wiring? In this video, we'll dive into the most complex circuitry on the E21, which just happens to be behind the dashboard, so let's get into it. Okay, first off, you have your temperature gauge here. This is reading coolant temperature. On some cars, the temp gauge in the dashboard reads engine oil temperature. This one reads coolant temperature, and it does it through a temperature sensor in the thermostat housing where the hot coolant flows through. Okay, so next we have our tachometer, or rev gauge, if you like to call it that. And this is actually the most complex bit of circuitry in the whole car. So from your ignition coil, there should be a wire that's tapped onto the negative side of it. That will go into the back of your tachometer. So there is your ignition coil there. It will go into the back of the tachometer and it will read off the voltage spikes when your distributor fires to the spark plug. Now ours is not working right now, so we need to look into that. The three lights in the top right corner here, you have your oil pressure light. So this light should come on when your car is in accessory mode, and it should turn off when the engine is running and your car builds enough pressure to switch off the light. Then you have your battery light that should switch off when your car is running to know that your alternator is working okay. Then you have your full beam light on this side. And then this is our dipped headlights here on the dash. We push in this button to turn it off. Then of course you have your speedometer, which reads how fast you're going, and this is actually a manual cable that spins that goes into the gearbox on the Getrag 5-speed gearbox. Then you have your fuel gauge, you have your warning lights, your fog lights, you have your handbrake indicator, and you have a low brake fluid indicator. Your low brake fluid indicator works simply by completing a circuit when there's a float that drops down. So you can see the little float there that will float on top of the brake fluid, and that will keep the light off, and if it was to leak and drop below a certain level, then that'll illuminate the light in the dash. Just show you quickly here that the rev gauge is dead. So yeah. Now if you want to remove the dashboard on your E21, it's actually very simple. You go underneath the dash and there's going to be one bolt. It's actually just a hand screw, so you twist that out, simple as that. There you have it out. And then you can see the bolt, you just took the nut off, and if you push on the back of that, you can pop the whole dash out. You can pull the dashboard out then and just disconnect the cables that are going to it. So there's two big ribbon connectors either side that you pull out, then some small cables, but it's very easy to see where they go back into, so don't need to keep track of anything. I'll show you a better view once it's removed. So this is the side where the speedo is. That's the speedo cable that goes into it, that's manual, that twists with the gearbox. And from the other end we have three cables that go into our tachometer. Alright, so I've it all stripped back here. This is the part that runs the tachometer, and it's split into two boards, and we should be getting power to the center dial here that spins the motor, and we are not. So that means it's a problem on the top board. So let's strip that back more now and start diving into it. We replaced this NPN transistor here. So we started testing the easy ones first, all the resistors, then we moved on to testing capacitors, and to test capacitance we needed to remove one leg off the board to test it properly. They were all coming back more or less okay, until we got down to this 8-pin integrated circuit here. It says SAC215 on it, which is a pulse shaper and a frequency to current converter. So what it's designed to do is take raw ignition pulses and convert them into stable current that drives the analog needle display. So that was the last thing it could be. Once we got that replaced, we put it all back into the car, and look at that, working beautifully. And now that the rev gauge works, the next annoying thing to deal with in the car is we never had the right size battery, so we went out and bought the right size battery with the proper cranking amps in it here. So then we also were using cable ties to hold the old battery down, so we didn't have a proper bracket. So we're going to make up just a quick battery bracket here now as well to get that sitting properly in it. So we got a small piece of steel here, we drilled out the hole, we got a bolt, we cut it short, and we made sure it threaded into the hole, which it does, all good. Now we're just going to make it look a bit nicer. We sanded it down, smoothed it up, and just going to hit it with some colour match paint to match the colour of the car. And we're not going to wait for this all night to dry, so we're going to just hit it with the heat gun, dry it up. So now we're just going to drop the new battery in. There we go. So now we're going to get the plate over it, then we are going to bolt it in, tighten it up. That is solid. Time to test out our new battery. There we go. Okay, and moving on to our rebuilt Solex 4A1 carburettor. So these carbs are very much hated but misunderstood. So let's go through what I've done to get it back into top shape. So on the side here is actually a bimetallic strip that controls the auto choke. So you've coolant coming from the thermostat housing that passes through it, that heats up the bimetallic strip. So that actually opens the choke flap on top of the carb. So when the car is cold, it gets less air, more fuel. When it heats up, it gets more air. So being a 4-barrel carb, the first 2 barrels are only used unless you stamp on the gas, then it opens the 2 bigger barrels, and it does this by the vacuum capsule. So at idle you have highest vacuum. When you increase in RPM range, you drop off in vacuum. So then that will open up the secondary flaps here and allow more air in at higher RPM. This carb has 3 plates as well stacked, and it's prone to air leaks and warpage. So yeah, it needs a full rebuild kit if they haven't been rebuilt before. And on this side here then we have our accelerator pump here, which is a diaphragm type which can rip and need to be replaced. The accelerator pump helps when you snap on the throttle to give it an extra shot of fuel to stop lean mixture. Then this is our whole throttle linkage mechanism here. So the cable connects to here, rotates this, that pulls on that arm and pumps the accelerator pump there. Before we rebuilt the carb here, trying to see what was wrong with it, so we removed the old vacuum capsule and we're going to test that out now as well. Okay, so I've attached a plunger to our old vacuum capsule. When I pull on that plunger, this arm should pull inwards and it should stay there unless the diaphragm is cracked and broken. See, when we pull it in and out there, nothing is happening. There's the tiniest jolt and then it goes back. So yeah, this vacuum capsule is bad and we just need a replacement one. So given the car is 40 years old, these are not easy to come by. Luckily there was a new one on eBay that we ordered. It wasn't cheap, but we got it. Let's get it installed. That'll be one thing done. So the new vacuum capsule should open the butterfly valves to allow in more air. There should be a plastic cam that moves along with that moves more fuel, and we can see that's not moving at all in the center here. So we're going to have to remove that and fix, I assume, the broken plastic cam. So we have the head of the carburetor removed here. So we need to remove this whole center section here, pull that out. So these 2 needles slide up and down that sit into our jets, which allow more fuel in when the plates open. We made a new cam here that's made out of aluminum, and when we put that back together, you can see now that that center section actually moves up. So now it lets in the appropriate amount of air and additional fuel when we stand on the throttle. Then your idle air screw on the Solex 4A1s on the E21 is very much hidden away. So this is it here. So you have one that controls the first 3 cylinders and another that controls the back 3 cylinders. Here's a better view of it there. And that's all we have for this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, comment and subscribe.